All right, hello everybody. Welcome to FMA discussion. Tonight we are featuring Grandmaster Rene Latosa. This is episode 64. If you're tuning in, please tell us where you're watching from and all that. I'm really looking forward to the show. Before you guys get off the show tonight, I do stick around. I'm going to reveal October's list of guests and all that, and some pretty exciting names on there and all that. So be sure to stay around to the end. Plus, I'm going to be mentioning GM's website, YouTube channel, and Facebook for those who want to check out more on GM. Okay, so welcome. Thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Well, thanks for having me.
Oh my gosh, my pleasure. My pleasure. Again, there's, I was looking at everything, from what you sent me, your website, and just, I actually got like really more excited just like everything I went through. Just some really, really great stuff on there, and so before I want to get into like 1968, I kind of want to get your first exposure, and you referenced your father having a tremendous impact on you, and would you mind speaking on that?
Yeah, well, I was training at I started at the first Escrima Academy in Stockton with Angel Caballas and Matt Sarmiento and Dentoy Revelar, and I was basically I was one of the. There was only about 3 or 4 students, so I was there every day, every day training, and I was getting fairly good because I was these are almost like private lessons because there's only three students, 3 instructors, and luckily for me, they trained me to be someone to go on the demonstrations, do demos, because I was one of the only Filipino young kids that started taking interest in the art that was really unknown. Nobody knew about it. Nobody heard about it. Nobody cared about it. And there was no advertising back then. It was like a lot of word of mouth. So I was working out, getting really good, trying to practice as much as I can, feeling the culture, the heritage that came along with studying Filipino martial arts. And so I was practicing for a demo and in my backyard, and my dad was out there, and I had no one to practice with. So I called him. I said, hey, Dad, could you come over? I need a dummy to help me. And so he looks at me and he says, what? I said, I need a dummy, someone who doesn't know very much, someone who, I don't want to hurt you, but, I'm really good now, and I don't.
I see where this is going.
And so he puts down his gardening equipment and he comes over and he says, okay. So he grabs it. I said, grab a stick, but be careful because I'm really fast, really quick, and I'm going to hurt you in one stroke. And he goes, really? Okay. He goes, well, give me a stick. He grabs a stick and he goes, you know what? In broken English, he said, you know what? Hit me. I said, I can't do that. You're my dad and I'm going to hurt you because, I'm knowledgeable. I have certificates and I train all the time and you're an old man,
Oh my
and
gosh.
You're just a dummy to help me, and he goes, okay, really?
This is killing me.
And he goes, hit me. And I said, so I give him a really slow hit. And all of a sudden I felt a stick on my head, and I chastised him and I said, look, this is how people get hurt. People don't know what they're doing and then they all of a sudden they hit. And so he goes, go hit me again. So I hit him a little faster. And then all of a sudden I got hit again. And I'm looking at him. So I step back and I throw a really fast one and I get hit again. And then I went after him. I ended up on the ground. And he's looking at me. He goes, "You need a little bit of work." And my mom came out, yelled at him, told him to leave me alone. And I was about to give up. I said, "What's going on here? What is this? I know what I'm doing and you don't." He goes, "Really? Okay." He goes, "I'll talk to you tonight." I was just like, I almost quit. And then later on, he told me he was pretty good. He was really good.
Wow.
I mean,
So
very,
was
very.
this something? Was this something that he just? Again, at what age? Just, I mean, about what age were you when this happened in the backyard?
I must have been um, 18, 17,
So,
18.
so at
So
that
he
point,
years under me.
did you just not? Is it something he just didn't share with you, or you didn't realize?
Well, when I first started the martial arts, I asked him, I said, "Look, can I get some money? Because I need money to take lessons from, I want to take Kung Fu. We had Kung Fu on the movies and all this kind of stuff." And he goes, "No, no." He goes, "But you can go to," he goes, "I'll teach you. I'll teach you jitsu," he said. I said, just just give me the money so I can go and learn real kung fu, right? And he goes, "No." And then my mom came back later. He said, "Look, there's a guy that is our friend, works for my dad, Angel Caballos. He opened a school." He goes, "Why don't you go there and learn?" And I said, "Okay." And that's when I started learning the art. And he said he'll pay for it. And so actually, um, it was like $20 a month, and he worked for my dad, and so I didn't know anything. I didn't know any better, but um, I paid him 20 a month every month, right? My dad gave me $20. I had no work. I was a worthless little kid, no job, nothing. So um, then I said to myself, you know what? I went back home. I said, "Hey, Dad, it's gone up to $30." and, and he goes, "Really?" He goes, so he gave me $30 then, and I took the 10 and gave him 20, and so I made money on that. But anyway, he came back and told me later that he trained since he was like 16 from my great grandfather, who was actually an outlaw, and he'd go run into the mountains, and people were looking for him, and the authorities were looking for him, and he'd come down when they were away, and he couldn't get caught, and there were stories about him that he's fighting off all the law enforcement people, and ran back up into the mountains to hide. But my dad was real young, and my great grandfather had come down from the mountains, and he was in bed, and he had this thing they called the unting unting,
Mm,
and
okay.
he wanted to give it to my dad, and he couldn't, and it was weird. My dad said he was laying in his bed and something was coming out of his mouth, and he wanted my dad to take it, and this will protect them forever. And my dad ran away. He was too scared of what it was. So I don't know what all these things were, but this was it. And then my dad came back, and he was gone. And so my dad, as he grew older, he was trained by his relatives in the village, and the village was the bar is a village where people would come through from various places all over the Philippines to trade, and so he would train with people who'd come through the village and
Okay.
and battle and have and fight with them. And he became the top guy wherever in his barrio, in his village. And my my uncle also was trained by him, and so he actually had to leave the Philippines because he got in trouble over a fight,
Oh,
and so they were really coming after him. And he trained actually. He left. He left the village to go train in a special place because he told his mother he was going to Manila to go to college. So he left the village and he actually went up to the mountains to train in the Filipino martial arts for a year. And then he came back. He came back to the village and he was, really he had a bad temper. So he fought a lot. He got in a lot of trouble, and so the contractors would come and try to get people to come to America to work in the labor fields. And so he took that opportunity in the 20s and took a ship over to America. And on that ship, he actually had a fight with a Japanese bowmaster. And
mm,
it was a life and death fight. And it was, and the ship was from Russia. And so there's so many people, Filipinos, Japanese, and all sorts of immigrants coming on this cargo kind of ship. And this is a story that I found out even later from a lot of different people. But he fought this Japanese bowmaster on the ship, and he took two sticks, and this guy had a bow because he was really harassing a lot of the other people, and so that's why the fight happened.
okay.
And so he took him down and wouldn't kill him. And so
Mm,
Japanese man was very I don't know what he wanted. He wanted death. He didn't want to have shame. But then he wouldn't kill himself. I guess he wanted to find a new life in America as well. But my dad
yeah.
let him live, and so my dad came over, and it was because of his martial arts he became, a labor contractor. He was the president of the Filipino community. He was a labor leader. He was very confident in himself, and he was very political as well. And but I think he got this from being someone who was in control of himself and his ability to fight, his ability to have confidence in what he does. He was a very well known um, fighter, and people were. I could never figure it out. I mean, we were always afraid of him because he had this real harsh temper, harsh personality. But uh, he eluded a lot of self confidence.
Oh, okay. Okay.
It was very, very interesting to see coming back to it now. I came back from the military one day, and I was at the Filipino community building in Stockton, and I went out the door, and out the door was Skid Row, and there's a lot of bad people out there, and you know, here I am. I came back from the military. I was boxing with the military. I was a martial artist, and I opened the door, and these guys came at me, going, "Hey, we want to take whatever." And I'm going, "Hey, this is okay. I can deal with this." And my dad pushes me out of the way and yells at these people and takes a weapon and starts pushing them all away. And I'm going, "Dad, I could take care of this.
Yeah.
He goes, "Get in here before they start something else." And you know, so that was him, and that's where
Okay.
I got a lot of my influence from. And his system was very much finish it up, win. There was no game on his side.
Yeah.
None of them. So,
Wow. I mean, wow, that's fascinating. Yeah, no, thank you for sharing that with us. That was wow.
yeah.
So then, just want to, some people are saying hello. John Kuspis, John Rister, Brian Rodriguez, Terry, Stockton Strong, Terry, Romeo. Hey, Romeo. Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure. We'll make sure those chimes. Okay. And team, like, all right. All right. So we're going to go up to, okay. So 1968, you joined the academy, which you touched on. And again, when I was going through your website, that just really stood out. I'm just thinking, wow, 1968, all those years, and like you mentioned, I mean, obviously FMA in 1968 was like I mean, like I'm guessing nobody even heard about it, with the exception, of course, in your community. So what was that like? You're going in there. You mentioned again from your website, there's like 3 or 4 views, and you have the exposure of like 4 legends.
Right.
So what was, I mean, like,
Yeah,
wow.
but
So
the Filipino community is a tight community, and I walk in, and these guys are people I've known since I was a little kid. I've known them all, and it's like, I've known Angel since I was really, really small, and so, I'm walking in, and I'm saying, hey, Angel, what's up? And we both have a cigarette, and this is not, you don't walk in, you don't bow, there's nothing to do formal. It's just, I had a cigarette, he had a cigarette, and we're smoking, and everybody else is smoking, and it's just smoke filled. And he says, hey, what do you want to do? You want to try to grab a stick? And I said, yeah, let me put we put our cigarettes down. It's like,
wow.
nothing.
So goes
And
out
so
saying wasn't formal.
nothing was formal. No.
Okay.
And it was worse for me because I knew them.
Yeah.
In a social setting, I knew them all. And so I went to, he said, well, give me a hit. I said, what do you mean give me a hit? Just hit me. I said, okay. So I hit him on top, ended up on the ground. He gave me a lock, and I went down on the ground. I said, whoa, what's this? An Angel only stood up to hear to me. I'm going, what's going on here? I knew nothing about martial arts except what I saw on the screens. And so he said, hit me again, hit me again. He threw me on the ground and blah, blah, blah. He goes, okay. And then he went and grabbed a cigarette. He says, okay, grab a stick and go with Dentoy, go with Max. And I said, okay, go with this guy. And so, it wasn't a class. You sat down on a bench, and these guys would come up and say, okay, get up, your turn, your turn, your turn. And when there's nobody there are 4 instructors to me. And so, I'd sometimes stay 4 hours. I'd have 4 hours of almost private instruction.
That's unbelievable. Unbelievable.
And it was really, really intense. And it was really, really something amazing because people would come in, as I got to be one of the assistant instructors, people would come in from karate, from jujitsu, from kung fu, and I would be the hitman. He says, you go over there to show that guy what to do. I said, okay. And, I know nothing about formalities. We had nothing formal.
Okay. Yeah.
No uniforms, no nothing. We just did what we did. And I thought that was great. To me, I didn't know anything. What do I know? The guys are bowing to me. I go, what? Okay.
Oh, because they came from traditional schools. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they're like,
Okay.
oh, what do we do? What do we do here? I said, I don't know. Just give me a hit. And then, I hit them. And I guess I had no tact. So that was okay. But I was young and it didn't matter. But people didn't understand it, you know. And then Max was and really a knife and empty hands guy. So I learned all the empty hands and knife fighting and the Filipino boxing from him.
Mm.
And, so I would do empty hands with these guys, but I had no rules. So it was, you know, when I sparred against somebody, there was no rules, and I had no control.
Oh, okay.
And so uh, it was not like I could go to and look at a tournament and go, hey, I want to go in, because I had no formal training in stopping. You know,
Yeah, right. Okay, okay.
it was all winning and winning and winning, and that was my thought. And then when I started training with my dad, it even got worse. You know,
Mm.
it was take them out, and there's no mercy. You know, period. And so I had to I had to go back and separate training and reality, and no mercy. And so,
No mercy.
but it was okay. You know, I could distinguish all three. You know, so it was okay for me. And as I was getting better and better and better, and training and not getting caught in one thing, being able to expand into all the various things that I was being taught. You know, I would train by myself at the Filipino Community Center because I had really nobody to train with. And
Mm.
in the center, there was hundreds of people that just walked through, play cards, hang out, all these old timers between seasons, and they would come in where I was practicing, watch me, and they would say, "Okay, this is how I would do it," and they would show me a different system,
Oh, okay.
and then some other guy would walk in behind him and say, "What did he show you?" And I said, "Well, he showed me this." He goes, "Okay, you beat him like this." I said, "Okay." And then the next guy came in. He said, "What did they show you?" He goes, "No, you do this," because a lot of them hid their system.
Oh,
None
okay.
of them, none of them wanted, because the idea was, if you don't show what you know, they don't know what you can do.
Yeah, right. How do you defend something you haven't seen or you don't know? Right. Okay.
These
Okay.
guys,
Okay.
these guys were saying, "Hey, look, this is how you do it. This is how you do a knife. This is how you do a punch. This is how you do boxing. This is how you do wrestling." You know, and so I had so many guys coming in, and it was, and I took it all in. So I didn't say, no, I don't want to do it that way. I do it this way. And so, I don't know what I was exposed to. Honestly, to, I was exposed to so much, even from people like John Lacoste, and all these people were in that setting. And,
Oh,
uh,
wow. I didn't
you
realize him as well. Oh,
yeah,
wow.
he was playing cards, and he used to call me over, and says, "Hey, um, man, I could show me a hit." My dad ran the card room, and he owned the building, but all these guys would come up, and I don't know, they'd throw punches at me, throw knives at me, with their fingers, and show me different things to do. Someone had walking sticks and would hit me when I was walking forward. Angel was there. Angel was part of this whole group of Filipino guys. It was just, that was my social environment, because I was hanging out there, and I had so many different guys come in that I didn't even know, and show me different things. So, and what I was trying to do is make sure I could mirror this, and take all this and put it all together where it doesn't get um, mixed up.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Stays at least as a foundation. And so I took all this and tried to develop what I do now.
I mean, I'm just thinking, like, I'm trying to think, like, at 18, like, you're exposed to all that. I mean, while it was wonderful, it had to be overwhelming. I mean, I'm just, wow.
Yeah, it was overwhelming.
I mean, these are like, I mean, you're not talking about chumps here. I mean, these are like major, major, like,
Yeah,
players back then. And wow. So within, going back to the class setting, I knew the four there. So, I mean, wow. I'm just trying to, just for the viewers, I'm just so they can get the magnitude of this. So you got Master Leo, I mean,
yes,
Master Angel, Master
yeah.
Max, and Master Dental. I mean, so do they each? I know you meant, Master Max, empty hand knife. What about Master Leo? What was he? Would he give you more sword oriented?
They gave me, well, they gave me as much as they can. They would, you'd be sitting down and they'd just say, come here. And there was no set schedule. There was no set training method. They go, do this or you get hurt. And that was the whole training. And my dad was the same way. Show me one movement and then you do it. And that was it. And if you can't do it,
Mm,
don't hit. So you better be watching every little thing that they're doing, all the movements that they're doing, the connection of the footwork to the hands, to the body, to the movement, to the strategy of his when he starts. Um, and if you don't, you get hit. Um, my dad, I was trying to ask him a lot of times when I was training with him, when he had the time, just I can stop him. And he he said, "Give me a hit." I said, "Hey, Dad, what do you do about this?" Tell him some odd whatever it is, and he would make a movement. I said, "I like that. Can you show me it again?" He goes, "I don't know what I did." They don't know what they
oh, because he
did.
just reacted.
They just go.
Yeah,
They
they
just
just
go.
react. Right,
And
right,
it's
right.
like,
Okay, okay.
I said, but you have to know what you did. He goes, I don't know what I did. I tell him something else he did. Same exact hit, he does something else.
Oh, maybe slightly different angle, timing,
And again, he
speed.
does something else. My
Wow.
uncle told me that. Well, my uncle was different. It was his brother. So he said when he was learning, I mean, he really got hit. So he was in the Philippines, and they really got hit. And
Yeah.
he said he didn't hit you because he hit me all the time. He said he had bruises, blisters, bumps, broken bones. He got hit all the time because they don't fool around. I mean, my dad was in fights for real, and not with just sticks and someone's going to referee it. These were
Yeah,
fights,
yeah,
and
yeah.
so
These are right.
knives and whatever, and so it wasn't a game. And so he said he hit me, and so I don't know if I was very good because he kept hitting me. I said, well, my uncle was teaching me too, but he didn't hit me that much. But
Wow.
I mean, that's the way they did it.
Jeez.
The way they did it.
I'm
And
just thinking, like, just the community center, which you referenced, the school there, just like you look over there, and there's like Master John Lacosta, just like playing cards. You know what I mean? You got, I mean, that's just like, wow.
yeah, you walk down the street and there's Gilbert Tenyo, also just family friends. They're just all walking down this Filipino center, El Dorado Street, it was called. Um, Everybody knew you because my dad was pretty popular and political, so everybody knew you. And
Jeez, that's just so. I mean, so yeah, and I know you touched upon this. There was obviously, there was no system per se, and there was no formality and what have you. I mean, is it fair to say though they instilled, I guess, quote unquote, the basics? Would that be fair?
they did. Angel was starting out with. He had a 1 to 12 system, right? So that is a system I I stayed with, to be systematic. And then
Mhm.
Max had his own method of teaching. Dentoy was um, a great prodigy of all these guys.
Okay.
And Leo did his own system of teaching. But everybody had their own type of methodology of teaching.
Mm-hmm.
I had 1 to 12, but I was, they needed me for doing demonstrations. So, you know, their philosophy and idea was 1 to 12 in 12 months, right? 1 to 12. So I learned like 1 to 12 in 3 months, and so I got to focus on lots of different other things as well, but still sticking with the 1 to 12 system.
Mm.
So, which was good. It kind of got me back into a method of how our school system is, 1 to 12,
Yeah, 1 to 12. Yeah, right. Yeah. Okay.
and kind of, whenever I started to teach, because I think it was like Dantoy started introducing classes, like
Mm.
or two people in one session, because it wasn't something that was the norm, 2 or 3 people that are doing the same thing or teaching a class. And so, it started integrating into that sort of educational system, which, was, I think, was started being influenced by the belt levels, by
Traditional
the
system.
traditional stuff that more,
Mm.
more commercial line. People start to to understand that, oh, it's more commercial if you did it this
Yeah, yeah,
way. People, react to that.
yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean that. Yeah, I know the belts, the organizational structure. You know, the student, incremental achievements, what have you. Yeah.
And I understand that. I'm fully aware of that, and I understand that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
Right,
get it.
right. So I mean, if you had to give just for the viewers, like, because the comments here, like, they just can't believe you had like those 4 grandmasters at your exposure. I mean, that's incredible. If you had to just one thing from each, and I know you must have gotten, several things, but if you like the one key thing that you remember, whether it's a concept, an ideology, a method, like what would be one thing from each of them that you took and to this very day you still either use or you instill in your own system?
Yeah, well, when I was developing what I do, everything that everybody did had had an influence on it.
Mhm.
And so, I took everything I knew, everything I did, I took it into to boxing as well. But normally, when I started to develop what I do, you know, I took everything that everybody gave me, and I didn't put anything aside. I
Okay.
took everything, and I broke it down into what people need, and how to take care of. How do you mesh all these things together? How do you make all these things that I did?
These ingredient, yeah.
How do you make this the Filipino martial arts? And what I did, I took and divided everything up into balance. Everything has to have balance. Everything has to have focus. Everything has to have speed, timing, and distance. Everything
Mhm.
has to have power. And then everything has to have this one issue key that is transition. So you take all these concepts and everything that you do, you lay out like uh, um, an overlay on all the things that you do and say, do all these things exist in what I do?
Okay.
Am I focused? Do I have the right speed, timing, and distance on this guy? Do I have enough power? Do I have do I have my balance? Because balance is giving you, well, once I move here, and you're balancing your hits, you're balancing your strikes, you're balancing your power, you're balancing your footwork, you're balancing your timing and your speed, you're balancing your power and your punches. So you don't overbalance this. Once you're overbalanced, you create a weakness, you create a hole. And when you're fighting, when you're in the room, what I'm looking for always is a hole. And the guy may punch, he overstates his punch, he goes with the right overhand, boom, boom, you find a hole. You take advantage of that hole, and then you create more openings.
Okay.
And so the idea of how much pressure you put on the guy, how much you take back, how much you allow him to have any risk factors on you, how you take away his advantages, how you then strategize on the distance that you need to come in fast enough, how far do you don't want to go back without taking real estate back in. If you take real estate from the guy, you keep it.
Yeah.
You know, you have to, all these things come into what I learned early on, where you have a balance of technique, of power, and winning. You know, at the end of the day, I don't do this stuff for fun. I do it to win. And, you know, I don't play sports. I never played football in my life to lose, you know, and you don't play a position to lose. You don't play whatever you do to lose, you know. Yeah, you can be compassionate. Yeah, you can be a little bit, you know, if you're going to play Queensberry rules in boxing, yeah, but they have a ref. They have a referee. And in the streets, you don't have a referee. And if you're ever bouncing as a bouncer, you know that, you know, you can't destroy the guy. You have to have some ability to take him out.
Control.
And control. And so, you know, whenever I was younger and I got challenged, you know, the problem is I couldn't hurt the guy, but I have to take him out.
Yeah, correct.
And I take him out enough where you put yourself into jeopardy because this guy is coming at you trying to make a point. I don't care whatever system he was in. You know, I had guys with bows and sticks and whatever weapons they had. They challenged me, you know, and in a group of 30, 40 people, I can't knock the guy out, but I can hurt him.
You can't go overboard and go beyond what you should. Yeah.
And so I have to hurt the guy enough to show him where I can take him out. And the guy better believe it, you know, because, you know, when I first introduced the Filipino martial arts to Europe, when I was stationed there, you know, it was not known. Nobody knew a damn thing. Nobody even knew where the Philippines was. Nobody knew a Filipino. And I would go into these karate schools, these kung fu schools, and say, look, this is what I do. And they would look at me and say, you know, you're an idiot, you're a moron, you're only 23 years old. What the hell do you know? I give them sticks, I give them knives. I said, look, come at me. And I'd have to prove myself. I couldn't lose because I was representing at the time myself and the Filipino arts.
Right. So you got to back up whatever you're.
There was nothing about this. Nobody knew anything. And I started with the first. They gave me the first news articles, the first magazine articles in Europe. And after this, because I'd started to go to these various places that had, you know, jiu-jitsu guys and then high-class karate guys and whatever, and I was winning. And I was taking, and I was 23, and they're going, and these guys were all a bunch of old guys, you know, 30, 35. And I'm going, I said, I don't want to hurt you guys. You guys are pretty old. You're going 35, 40, and I'm going, and looking back and going, I must have felt like I must have been an idiot to go in like and doing all the things that I did at
Yeah, when you
23.
reflect back.
Because
Yeah.
at 23, guys are very, very much professionals. I mean, they're destroying them, and they're going because they've never seen it before.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, especially, I mean, wow.
And so
So
I did demos up in Liverpool, Manchester, and London,
England.
and they went crazy.
So what? So because I definitely want to get into your system, the Cadena de Mano, all this. I mean, you were the first person in England to bring FMA. Prior to that, like how? Okay, you obviously got some sort of graduation, or I mean, from the Stockton Academy. Is that? Am I correct in that?
Yeah.
So what year? I guess was it?
So I didn't get it. I really didn't get it until I came back home from after being out for 3 or 4 years, and I didn't. Angel and Dentoy. I got a some official thing from Max when I left, but I
Okay,
left after 5 years. I went into the military.
you
Angel
went
said
Navy. Okay, okay.
Air Force,
Air Force. Okay.
and Angel said you're good enough. You teach, you do whatever you want. Max said you're good. Angel said you're good enough. We don't have anything. There's no such thing.
Oh, right. So for the times. Okay, okay, okay.
And so and I worked out with my dad. He said you're good enough. What do you need to do? And so when I went to Europe, um, I started going into these schools and teaching, and
Mm,
actually teaching police and stuff like that with batons, and they had nunchucks or whatever. Um, but I was teaching them, and they never asked for any certificates or
oh, they
anything.
didn't ask for credentials, so okay, okay. Yeah.
But when I came back home, they gave me some. Angel gave me some sort of advanced certificate.
Mm,
Angel, your word is good enough. I don't need.
yeah, yeah. I mean, coming from him, right?
And I had already written a book, lots of magazine articles, and so it wasn't something I really needed to have.
Right. Okay. Okay. Yeah.
You know,
Okay.
but then
So
it was later in my life that people wanted these things.
I know, no, that's when it became, yeah, understood, understood. So, all right. So you go off to the Air Force, you return. Were all four still under the same roof?
No, everybody was split off.
Everybody split
Leo
off.
started his own area, his own school. Angel had his own school. Dentoy was doing different things as well. But, it was okay. I was cordial with everybody. So I was able to go and
Oh
visit.
yeah, you weren't stuck in the middle, or yeah, okay.
I had no political affiliations. So
Mm,
it was great for me. But everybody else, it was kind of maybe a beginning of some sort of, a movement away from each other.
rivalry started maybe.
But you got to understand the Filipino um, history. The Philippines is what, I don't know, 8,000 islands. So everybody's separate. There's no central location in the Philippines.
Mm,
Everybody's from different islands, every barrio, every city, even within the islands, they're all separate. And so when the Filipinos came here, yeah, they started maybe with one Filipino organization. And all of a sudden, there were splinter Filipino organizations, maybe hundreds of them, uh, different lodges, different
yeah.
organizations, and so they started to come this whole like a revolution of everybody was separate as well,
Mm,
like islands. So everybody kind of found their own little niche and everything, and so I think this was happening in the Filipino arts as well. Everybody had to find their own way. They had their
no
own
way. Yeah.
dialogue, their own language. was like that. Everything Filipino is like finding their own thing. You know?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, yeah, something like that. I guess some really good thing like that doesn't last forever. I got a question, Brian. Okay. GM Rene, what was your AFSC in the Air Force? I was in 95 to '08. My AFC was 2A773, Aircraft Structural Maintenance.
Mine was logistics.
Logistics. Okay. There you go, Brian. So, okay, let's I want to get before we get into your system, you're off to the Air Force. You're in England. You're the first one to bring FMA to England. Through that, it sounds like you picked up some other countries
Yeah,
as well.
it morphed into to all of the rest of Europe. You know,
So okay, so okay, so fantastic. And just generally speaking, what year about? This
well,
early '70s.
I got out in let's see, it's about 73.
Oh, so okay. Oh, wow.
I went back every year, twice a year to Europe to continue the training in Sweden, Norway,
Jeez, Germany, all huh?
Germany, um, all over Europe, Spain, Italy, France, everywhere where they had martial arts. So it started to really blossom. I was in an organization that had well over 15,000 people, and so they were all over Europe. And so for me,
Oh, so from England, it just kind of
for me, it was,
manifested.
yeah,
Okay.
because they had an organization. I was working full time with the government, and so
Mm,
I took my vacations in Europe to teach. And so with an organization, they organized my whole tour for 2 weeks
fantastic.
all over Europe, and then I go home and go back to work. And then in America, I would teach all over the country,
Mm,
in the closer countries there. Um, but then it started to really boom in Europe, and so um, I'd have to come back every year
yeah, yeah.
and monitor what they were doing.
Right, to make sure quality control, what they're doing. Sure, sure, sure.
Yeah,
Um,
I knew they had two heads. One was a Wing Chun guy, and one was me. And so we had to be visible to all the students and
yeah.
work this thing. But then, later again, like everything else, you split off and you do your own thing. So
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess as time went on. But I mean, but this to this very day, you still have reps over there. I mean,
yeah,
Germany, Italy,
I have reps almost everywhere. I mean, they're not reps; they're students. I treat them.
students. Okay.
They're people who want to learn from me. I'm a teacher. I'm not the leader of the pack.
The pack.
Everybody can do what they want to do.
Yeah.
And what I do is I give them the tools to do whatever they want to do, and then like me, I expect them to expand on what they do.
Yeah.
Figure out what they do, not held by any constraints.
That's refreshing.
Not for me to go and say you're doing it wrong. You're doing it right, but it's up to you to figure out: are you opening the risk factors? Do you have
Mm,
yourself covered? Do you have the speed? Do you have the timing? Are you actually following the concepts to make yourself safe and effective? When you do,
mm,
it's not up to me to say, oh, you're a centimeter off. I don't
yeah.
know what your enemy's going to hit you with. I
Yeah.
don't know what your enemy's going to hit you with what kind of weapon.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Up to you to get the hell out of the way. You can't call me and say, hey, he's got an axe. What do I do?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
My
Yeah.
answer is good luck.
Yeah. My, he's GM, he's breaking my house right now with an
Yeah,
axe.
yeah.
So so fantastic. Okay, so what year, I guess, did Latosa Escrima come about?
It came about um, when I went to Europe, when I started
Okay.
getting challenges. 70, when I came back to Europe, really, about 73,
73? Okay, okay.
actually, because I was getting a lot of challenges. And so I had to do good. I had to make sure um, what I did worked. And, um, you have to understand, Angel was smaller than us. Leo was a little shorter. Max was a pretty big guy. My dad was a pretty decent sized guy. Dentoy was decent size. So there were variations of distances I had to play with. And
Okay,
so
okay.
I don't know what my enemy was. And so, I would go into I went into a kung fu studio one day, and
Mhm.
I gave them, you know, I gave them 15 sticks.
Yeah, yeah.
I stood in the middle. I said, come at me with anything you want.
Mm.
If you're doing that, you better know what you're doing.
Yeah, you better be able to back that up. Yeah, no,
I
yeah, yeah.
don't know what they're going to hit with.
Sure, sure, right. Yeah.
Me, I really didn't care. I was in a war mode. You know,
Mm.
I had to stop myself from not hurting them, but still, I was basically I was set to win.
Yeah,
And,
no, right. You were going into the mindset already. Yeah,
but
yeah. Which,
but it became a problem because um, students would be scared. They don't want to do it.
yeah,
So I had to kind of tone down everything.
yeah. I don't want to see that man anymore.
Yeah, that's good. You might hit me. So, yeah.
So, which leads us to our question from Romeo. And it sounds like you sort of kind of answered already. Did you ever have to use your stuff for whether it be was a self-defense situation or what have you?
Well, yeah, you use it when you need it. I
Mm.
don't go out looking for things. I don't go out
Yeah, yeah.
looking.
It wasn't looking for trouble. Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, I'd come back from Europe. I was walking down the street, and I was going to the bank to cash out some money. So I had a nice bit of money on me to cash out to foreign exchange. And, there's like three or four guys coming towards me on the sidewalk, and I was dressed because I was at work. So I had a suit going to work. And there's nobody else on the street. There's some cars on the street. And these guys, they wanted to talk to me.
Mm.
And so I said, no, I really don't want to talk to you guys. So I started headed out off the sidewalk into the street. And so one guy came behind me, one guy came forward, one came. And so I just kept walking. And so the guy in front of me said, hey, I just want to talk. So, he stretches out his arms to try to stop me. And so, you know, I moved on him, and I kind of put my hand on his throat, and I held him there. And I said, your friends want to talk too? And they didn't. So I pushed them out, and I kept walking. They go, yeah, it's okay, man. We just want to talk. And things like that. And
Yeah,
so, I mean, there are other things. Things when you're in the service and you get into fights.
yeah, yeah.
You know, I mean, I don't sit there with this carrying a stick,
Mm,
and
mm.
uh, challenges come where you're in a classroom setting and you don't have to hurt the guy.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
have a
yeah.
weapon and he wants to take a nunchuck against me, and I better be timed perfectly
Mm.
so win.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
know,
Like you said, I mean,
and when you
you're,
take them out, and you can't hurt them. You almost kind of figure how much control do you really have, and how much hurt could you really give this guy?
yeah, right. With it. Yeah. To justify it, I guess. Right. Right.
And I
Right.
don't want to hurt people in my seminars. You have 30 people looking at me.
Yeah.
They're going to walk out. They're going to go,
Yeah.
oh.
That would be good for future returns, right?
I mean, I had guys come at me, try to, uh, you know, they said, yeah, if you hit me with a stick, and then they try to take me down um, by trying to grab my legs. There are things you got to do, but you can't hurt them. You have to
Yeah. Yeah.
push them on top of the head and push them on the ground a little bit and go, hey, be careful. And
Yeah.
so it's tactfulness. I think that's a sign of being able to control what you do and control your.
Sure. Sure.
Um,
Yeah.
'Cause I used to have a really, really um, terrible temper when people used to challenge me, but I kind of got over that. So that's okay.
Oh, that's, well, that's good advice.
Calm down.
Calm down for less stress and
Yeah,
and longevity.
yeah.
So when you go into like you mentioned 73 or so, basically for the viewers in the audience here, what styles I guess is comprised of it? Is it more your experience through the Stockton Academy? Did you actually draw specific techniques from there and all that, or all the above?
It's always, it's basically um, logical ideas of
Mm,
understanding. Somebody has a stick, he's hitting you on top. Are you going to stay there? Uh, I mean, what are you going to do? You're going to, the basic logic, even when we first started and anywhere in the martial arts, is move.
move, yeah, yeah,
You don't know where the guy's hitting you, but you better evolve into understanding where his hand is going to go. If
mm,
he has his hand down here on the bottom, you know that you could take out, that there's certain areas of your body that he can hit you with. And
yeah,
what area is he going to hit you at? You know that if his hand is on this side, he's not going on this side to hit you on the other side. If he does, it's going to take all this time to
to
move his
transfer,
body
yeah, yeah,
to hit. And by that time, your head better be on your mind better be on hitting this guy before he takes his movement this way.
mm,
Right? So, yeah, I may start with, okay, so what would you do? He moves his stick up there to block. I said,
yeah,
okay, cool. But the guy took about 25 minutes to come out there and get ready to put all his power to hit you, and you're standing
yeah,
there waiting for him. Where was your offense? Where
yeah,
was
right,
your
right,
offense?
right,
Why didn't you
yeah,
strike him? Where were you at the strike? And that strike would have led you to become your defense.
mm, mm, okay,
See?
yeah,
And with you out of the way, you hitting him, you're basically doing cadena de mano when you're doing a weapon. You're not sitting there waiting for the guy to punch you. I'm
yeah,
never on the defense. Never on the defense. I'm always on the offense to make sure that his defense is shortened, making sure that
mm,
when I throw that I'm covered. If I'm boxing, I'm going to cover when I throw to make sure that there's no opening on my end. And if I create a little bit of opening, I may move to throw another hit, just destroying whatever's coming in. So
yeah,
and then take up the space, not stay where I am. I want to minimize any risk to me.
mm,
So it's all based on A lot of times I allow them to do what they do. I don't care what they do. Usually I don't have beginners. I have people that have merged into a different system or have done different systems, and they
Okay.
say, oh, I want to do your system because it's more effective. It's not my system that's effective, it's you.
Mm.
You got to take what you do and make it more effective. It's not me.
Oh,
I'm
well
going to
said.
teach
I
you,
like that.
I'm going to teach you how to develop where you're stalling on your time,
Mm.
and it doesn't matter what system you do, because that's why it's universal. What I do, I don't care where I go, where I teach, and what system they do, because it's meaningless to me. I don't
Yeah.
care. I used to teach in somewhere in, where was it, in Detroit, the whole Arnis group. They didn't know what I never learned. I never taught Arnis in my life.
Yeah.
I never even study any other system. I studied the idea of winning, and
Yeah.
so I taught a whole 3 days of in at the school, Arnis school, and they said your Arnis is really good. I said I don't do it. I do the Filipino martial arts, you know, because we learned so much. We learned about the focus, the power, and all this kind of stuff. I said, you're doing what you do normally. I'm
Mm.
just influencing you. I'm coaching you to do better, to
Ah.
make yourself better. You don't have to do what I do.
Yeah.
I don't care what you do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Continue. I do seminars with 100 people, and there may be a guy in the corner doing whatever system he wants to do.
Mm.
So do whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
I don't care. If you don't want to learn, I don't care. You're paying me money to do what you do in a corner, trying to show off and have people try to look at you, and nobody
Yeah.
cares. Nobody cares. You go in the corner and do whatever. I
Yeah.
don't care. He goes, yeah, but, what if you do this? Yeah, but, and you destroy them and they still do the same thing. And you go in the corner and do whatever you want.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't want to learn what all these other people are learning.
Right.
Go in the corner and do whatever you want. Because you're still paying me money, I'm not giving you a refund.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're done.
That's funny. There's the corners over there.
Who's over
Go
there?
hang out.
And I don't care how many certificates you have, how many times you're telling me that you're a grandmaster, you're a master, you're this, you're that. So go in the corner.
That's too funny.
You mean actually nothing to me. And I'm not being arrogant, but I'm just
No, no,
saying,
no. I definitely understand what you're saying. I mean, if they're going to be like, well, but, and they're not really,
and they haven't had
listening
the
or,
experience, and they haven't had the ability to understand what I do and where
mm,
I've gotten my information from, and he learned it third hand.
mm,
So those are the things that I deal with, but that's okay. It's fine.
yeah, so I want to get to, because obviously, I mean, boxing's obviously, obviously important to you and all that. So it sounds like you've got, the empty hand stuff from Max, and I'm guessing sounds like you took it further and added and all that.
Yeah,
What can you tell us about that? Whether it's Pinoy Boxing or whether it's Cadena de Mano, but like currently, I guess what you do, because it seems like it's a big part of what you do and
I
teach.
do, because I believe in transition. I believe totally in transition. Everything that I do with the weapon, every single thing, I translate back to empty hands. Everything I do with a knife is empty hands. Anywhere I hold it becomes empty hands. Everything that I do, because everything is fueled, it's fueled by your body. And so I learned to box. I learned to use my boxing skills and cadena de mano, and with a philosophy. My Max said, when you box, when you do empty hands, You're always fighting a person who has two knives. Period. I don't care what.
Yeah, that would make your teeth, man.
Huh?
That would make your defense acute, huh?
Yeah, because whatever you do, whatever you're doing, whoever you're fighting, he has a knife.
Mm,
Whatever position he's holding it, he has a blade.
mm,
And that means that every slight movement that he makes, this still has a potential to come back and hurt you.
mm,
And so if I'm blocking, I don't leave it alone. I'm making sure that I know where it is. If I can control it for half a second, then I can move forward and control it again if it's still out there and hit again and move. So it's not only the sensitivity, it's the slight movements that he does. It's the shoulder movements, his head movements, his contortion of his face coming in. But you have to take the slight movements with a knife. And if I come with the offense, I have to know where my weaknesses are. So every time I throw and he's trying to block it, he has a knife in his hands. I have to know where that offense is coming back to me.
mm.
Or if I throw, he blocks, his other hand comes in. I have to be careful of knowing where those two hands are
Yeah.
and where these things are coming from. And do I do I do I over block? Do I over focus? Do I over move? Do I come in? Do I stay out? Um, Speed, timing, and distance. Do I know exactly how far to come out? Do I give him enough real estate? What do I do? Do I feed him? Do I take out his shoulder and then take out his hand? Do I take out his shoulder and hit him in the face? You know, do I move his hand where I know that's going to take 3/4 of a second to get to me, and then I move my body and come in. So it's
Just,
all it's all strategic. You have to do the strategic game, not and what I do as well. He said, you don't pat it away. I put everything that I block with, even if it's small or short, it's with power. Everything is with power, powered from your legs to your torso to your hands. So
okay.
everything is not powered by the arms and the shoulders. It's powered through your body and on up. So when I do empty hands, I'm also doing sticks. And when I'm doing sticks, I'm doing empty hands. When I'm doing, um, you know, swords and knives and stuff like that, they are, um, I had this ability to take what these people were showing me, no matter where I went,
Mm,
wherever I gone to almost dissect their system and merge it to what I do. Whether they were blades, whether they did compilon, whether they did short knives, long knives, palm sticks, all the weapons they showed me, I was able to throw it into cadena, to throw it into to long weapons, to short weapons, to where I had to make an easy flow of transition. So my index card in my brain isn't so overwhelming.
mm.
So you condense it. It's like brainstorming all this information to a nice, unchaotic system.
Oh,
But it
well,
looks chaotic because it's not normal.
no, I mean, I really enjoyed your piece on the knives, like treating the empty hands like they have knives in. I mean, yeah, because I mean, if that doesn't make your defense more acute or sharpening it, I know I like that. Yeah, I mean, that's wow, that was good. Thank you very much on that. So now we're okay. So system and all that, far as that. So now, so when you reference Pinoy boxing, I mean,
Right.
and I know I got the importance of, how you incorporate everything, knives and all that, treated end to hand. But what can, like, Pinoy boxing for the viewers, I mean, who maybe have heard it but don't really
Right.
know.
Yeah.
I mean, what could you share with us?
Let me put that in perspective. Okay.
Okay.
Filipino boxing is winning. There is no referee. There is no ring. There is no um, count. There is nobody that is going to say that's illegal. So, you know, Filipino boxing to me is basically empty hands. And the whole concept of there's no Queensberry rules, there's no rules,
No ref, right, yeah.
nothing. It's it's survival on the streets. You know,
Mm,
there's a story in Stockton where um, the guy, this old man, very old man, he walked. You know how old men walk, very, their neck is down. They're walking very slow and,
mm,
and just walking like they're going to fall over, right? And so the story was, and it was told to me by Max. They were across the street, right? And this old man was walking slow, just walking, and these two guys were following. And so the old man, he kind of stopped. He looked around. It looked like he sensed these guys were following him, right? So he turned into an alleyway. Oh man. He turned into this alleyway, walked in, and then you could see these two guys following him in. Not, not within 3 to 4 or 5 minutes, you can hear screaming and yelling. And these two guys ran out of this alleyway, cut to smithereens. The old man cut them up. And then when he walked out like he was an old man walking out of the alley.
and here comes,
Yep.
and
You
there
know, that,
comes the old man.
he's
Head
walking
down.
like this, this down from you. And so he said that was Filipino boxing. You know, and Filipino boxing, it was sometimes cruel. You know, the old guys would be sitting down, who knows, and they would teach kids a few things, and they would let them have at it.
Mm,
You know, it was there was nothing. You know, there was nothing saying the formality of it all. You
yeah.
know, because you had guys that had come through the labor camps. You know, my dad was a labor contractor. So I hung out a lot in the labor camps. And so, you know, we had a lot of guys that came in that were highly skilled boxers, maybe even famous ones that we don't know, because they get $50 maybe to fight. But the rest of the time they had to work. So they work in the fields. And I've known a lot of them, you know, and they would practice and they would do all these things. A lot of wrestlers would come
mm,
to the fields. And, uh, but, you know, the guys who knew Escrima and all that, they keep silent.
yeah.
They wouldn't do anything. You know, they wouldn't expose themselves. But the idea was never to expose yourself. But
Mm,
you know, I was exposed to wrestlers wrestling out there, people just fighting, kids fighting, um, and a lot of martial things. You know, just but I never knew what it was. I was too little to understand what they were doing. Until now, I kind of figured out what they were hitting each other with sticks sometimes, but hidden. And you know, I couldn't see it. Nobody could see it. It was all in secret. So Yeah, Filipino boxing to me is just the ability to win without putting rules on it.
Okay.
You know?
All right.
I teach it now, but I have to teach it obviously with rules and control,
Yeah.
or else I don't get any students.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And for me, I can't go along and hit all my students and say, "Hey,
No.
this is
No.
good."
Yeah. That wouldn't be the best for retention.
So I had to break it all down, put it into strategical kind of methods of teaching, and
Mm,
hopefully they go move on with it.
yeah. 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 Wow. No. Thank. That was no. That was good. So future. Okay. I mean, obviously, we're in this miserable situation. What are your, I mean, as far as your organization and all that, I mean, obviously, you got students South America, Europe, obviously here in the States. Where are some of the goals, I guess when we have this situation?
I don't know, but it to me it would, if I was a martial artist, it would give me the opportunity to expand what I do, not what I've done. You know?
Mm,
Yeah, you can do the things that I've taught you and all this, but you know, you can expand it yourself.
yeah, yeah.
You can do what I taught you. You can do it faster. You can do it slower. You can do it with more power. You could train harder doing it. Look, train yourself in the mirror. You
Mm,
know, see where your openings are. If you're hitting like this, and you see your whole head exposed, why are you allowing that to happen?
yeah, right. There's an opportunity to do
Yeah,
refine. Yeah.
opportunity to actually, and I hate to say it, find yourself. You know, and and then test yourself with the people that you do it with.
Mm,
You know, people aren't here forever.
yeah.
And my mind was all these guys that showed me stuff, they're not here forever. They died with a lot of their secret systems.
Mm,
Hundreds of them. They died with it. It was only the brave ones who were able to expose it, were able to expose it and be
yeah.
pioneers in doing this. But there are hundreds of them that died with it. They all came to America at the same age where they knew what they were doing. There were street fighters, there were
Mm,
fighters, there were people with adventure in their system, in their blood. They knew it. They knew a lot of things. They knew how to survive because that's what they did when they came here.
right, right. So right. Yeah. When for I like to ask people this just as far as the overall FMA community, what would you like to see just far as positive changes or improvements? Regardless of systems, styles,
Right.
organizations, like overall, like what would you like to see?
Well, I'd like to see that the students get what they pay for and get what they want in
Mm,
an instructor, right? Um, there are, I would roughly say in my head, maybe 10,000 grandmasters.
mm,
They're going to give you anything that you want. They're going to give you a system. They're going to tell you this and that. They're going to tell you, oh, this is the only thing that works. They're the best. Nobody can be better than I am, blah, 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 blah. But I want students to get something out of what they were taught. They may be touting themselves as grandmasters, but there's a mortality rate and they have morbidity and they're all going to die. They don't have this, oh, you know what? I'm a grandmaster. I know everything. I'm never going to die. So I
yeah,
know everything. You know, students have to know that they're the ones carrying it on after them.
Mm.
So, yeah, they can take what they were taught, but you know, in a free society, you're taught to learn. You're taught to understand. You're taught to be free thinking. All these guys that put labels on themselves as grandmaster, I hate that name myself, to tell you the truth. I don't know everything, and everything that I say isn't be all end all.
Yeah.
And they may have to take what I've said and expand upon
Mm.
it. Take and and say, you know what, that didn't work. Then change it. They don't need validity from these people. They need the
Oh,
validation.
I love this. It's like, it's so funny. I'm having a couple guests in October, and one of the subject matter is going to be I think the student is getting lost in translation, getting lost in the shuffle.
Yeah.
Like they don't want, like it's like almost like they think it's frowned upon to think on your own or validate stuff or incorporate that maybe works better for you. And as long as you're respectful and
Yeah.
dialogue or presentation about it, but you are the student is the most important part of the journey. And I think that's getting lost.
That's why we teach.
I know.
Why
Big,
we teach.
yeah.
And
Yeah. Oh my God. Your students must love you.
titles, titles don't, they're not going to make or break you.
Yeah. It's just,
And, yeah, I'm going to pay my respects to the ones who taught me because they came before me. And
mm,
and whatever they have, whatever they did, they're 100% in my respect.
sure, sure.
And, and and the other people that are in my respect book are all my students because without them, there's no way you're learning.
Yeah. Or it's going to be carried on. Or,
Whatever you have, you're dead on arrival until you have
yeah.
students. And I don't care who you are because your students are teaching you what you're
Oh
doing.
my, yeah. Yeah. That's, wow. Like I said, wow. That's so refreshing to hear. Again, your students must love you.
I just want my students to be understanding and understand that they're the key to everything. I don't
I
have a
just,
key.
God, I wish more thought like you. I just wish.
I don't have a key. They have keys.
Yeah.
And they do.
Terry's, Terry, too many grandmasters, not enough Escrimadors.
So sure, he's 150,000% right.
Too many is, so I guess in simpler terms, too many chiefs, not enough Indians.
Exactly, exactly. And when I first started, um, there was nobody a grandmaster.
Yeah, I know.
Angel even called himself just the master, and we
I
accepted him as the top. Leo just considered himself a master. People started putting titles on him, and when I was uh, in the '70s and the early '70s and all this stuff, when I went back to the Philippines um, just to visit and figure out, um, I said, where are all these grandmasters?
know. Mm.
I went to Manila. I was looking for grandmasters, couldn't find anybody. Went to Cebu looking for grandmasters, couldn't find anybody. Um, there was nobody. But I went to the main place in Cebu, and I went down to the main where everybody hung out. And I said to these guys, I said, look, I need a guy who's the grandmaster. Who's the best? Who's the baddest dude, or that I can learn from? Who's the toughest guy? Who's the worst guy? I don't give a shit who it is. And they told me to go home. Your dad's there. I said, what? Because your dad's home. He was the guy. said, what? He goes, there's nobody better. So, so I was like shocked.
Because here it is the whole time. You, oh my
I
God.
had I had a fantasy that there was more.
Yeah, yeah.
Really, really did. I really had this fantasy. And later, when I went back to the Philippines, there must have been 1,000 grandmasters everywhere.
Oh my, well, you probably, I'm going to guess circa 90s is
Well,
when,
I went back in '93 to accept a living legend from the first Filipino martial art something, and there were like 1,000,000 grandmasters
yeah, I
being.
think the 90s is when it just kind of just imploded, you know?
And I mean, it was okay because a lot of them already knew who I was,
Mm.
and so it was okay. I mean, I respected everybody, and
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah, sure.
just,
Wow. That's amazing that your father sounds like he was a legend, and here it is, you know, you had to go over there, you know, wow, that's, what a story, what a story.
it was crazy. It was the craziest thing I ever thought of because it was like, what?
Yeah, yeah, you're like, you know, you're, like you were living with the, you know, the baddest person, and just, you
Yeah,
know, you had
because,
to go over, you know, half the
because
country, half the world, you know, to find out.
yeah, because he had to leave because he was in trouble.
Yeah, they were, the authorities were looking for him. I mean, you were mentioning. Yeah.
But the funny thing, when he studied up in the mountains for a year. And you know what the funny thing is, his last weapon that they taught him was a samurai sword.
No, wow.
I didn't
Left
know
over from the war?
this was way before the war.
That's right, because you're talking 19, right? Huh.
It was in the 20s.
How
And
does
there's a
Sam?
secret camp only for people that studied the Escrima.
How do you explain maybe the sword? I mean,
I
because
have, I have no idea because they went through all the weapons. They went through staffs, swords, knives, blah, 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 fighting from the ground to get up, fighting matches. And then somehow, when I was older, I was talking to my dad. I showed him a samurai sword I had. He goes, yeah. And he goes, this was the last weapon that we learned. I have
hmm,
no idea why.
maybe they were anticipating
Yeah.
one day them coming. I
I,
mean,
I have no idea. Maybe they're just waving it around. Maybe it was just there.
ah, that is
But
something. Wow,
I have
wow.
no idea. None.
How they came across that? I mean, yeah, that's and this and what and just what region was this?
This was in the Visayan region.
Okay, for science. Okay, okay, okay. Yeah, so middle set, right middle. Yeah, yeah. I mean, huh?
I don't know. I have. I mean, but there were a lot of different people training secretly in camps all over the Philippines.
Hmm.
Nobody knew. Nobody knew.
Yeah,
They're,
yeah,
they're just all over in families and in different places. That they could never record all these things because
yeah.
there was nothing central.
Right, right, right. Because of,
Nothing
yeah,
central.
yeah, yeah. I'm sure. Sadly, a lot got lost, far
Everything.
historically speaking.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Wow. Well, this is just for folks who are watching. I highly recommend they're watching to go to GM's website. It's www.latosa-escrima.com. Just one of the best websites I've seen. Just well organized pictures, videos, just really, really well done. And
Thank you.
then on Facebook, we have also Latosa-Escrima if you wanted to see his GM's page. And then YouTube, is this
Well,
just
that
your
was something I did during the now because I couldn't get to everybody, so I just do 20-minute clips, 20-second clips
No,
until
I thought it was well done. I thought
it's
I
so
thought the
fun.
website was really, really well done. Yeah. But I mean, this has been an absolute pleasure. I want to thank you so much for coming on. I mean, I usually go longer than usual because I just thought this was fantastic. Usually it goes like an hour. We went an hour and a half. So I hope I didn't take too much of your time.
No, no, it's fine. I'm not doing
uh,
anything anyway.
yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. God, we have to get out of this.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I
Good
just want
heavens.
to, can I say one thing?
Absolutely. Please do.
I just want to thank everybody for listening in. I
Mm,
appreciate you having me as a guest, and um, just to just to be clear, do what you do.
yeah.
Just be respectful to your teachers, um, but just keep an open mind that that there is more than what you're taught is out there, and you're the key. You're the key person that can drive you to being better. Nobody else can make you better. No technique, no system, no person. You're the only one who's going to ever make yourself better, and you have the ability to do it.
Yeah. I mean, you're responsible for your own journey, right?
Yes, you actually are.
You
As,
know,
as in
that
your
was.
professional career, whatever you do professionally,
Mm.
you're the only one that makes that happen.
Yeah, that was beautifully said. Yeah. No, I thank you for that. And I want to thank you for coming on. It's been absolute wonderful. This has been great. I really, really enjoyed, especially the stories and your father and thinking he didn't know anything and be careful. I don't want to hurt
Right,
you.
right.
Those were
I never had a son was my problem. I had daughters. So
those were great.
if I had a
So
son, it would have been the same thing. But all I
yeah.
had was daughters.
But again, I want to thank you so much, and you take care of yourself through this nightmare that hopefully will end
We'll
soon.
get through it. We'll get through it.
All right, sir.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
All right.
Take care.
Bye.
All right, folks. As promised, October's list. Okay, which I got right here. So here's what we got coming for October. What a wonderful teacher. I had to be under him. Oh my gosh, so open-minded like that. Oh, students must love him. Um, we have we're gonna have Dwight Wood, Steve Grody, Burton, all one show, and that should be interesting. John Uscadero, Tom Pena's instructor. Bram Frank, yes, that will not just be one episode. Ray Galong, Trisha Dong, female up in Canada. Tommy Dye, Louis Lindo, and all that. And Elric Jundis, who's going to do more on history, kind of piggyback off on Baki. So there might be one or two, but I just figured, just so you guys know. So October's list. All right, all. Thank you for all that watched, questions, and commented. That was fantastic. Love those stories. And I shall see you, I think, Saturday. Master Norman in Canada. Matter of fact, I'm going to confirm that tonight to make sure it happened. That will be on KI. Yes, from the Canada group. So that should be good. Again, I'll know that by tomorrow. And thank you again. I'll see you folks soon. Take care.